What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Fish Life podcast. Cheers, y'all. One of the oldest bass fishing podcasts in existence is finally back. We haven't done one of these in a long time. We like to do these live on a Sunday night. I almost said Thursday. Live on a Sunday night. Man, tonight's going to be a fun show. Check out some old tunes real quick. I don't believe in superstars, organic food, and foreign. Yeah. If you don't like Don Williams, probably, maybe either you haven't been introduced properly to that and you're a young fella, or this is not the right podcast for you. We'll just say that. Not the right fishing channel in general for you if you don't like Don Williams. More than likely. You're young, or this ain't your spot. I believe in it too. We're going to talk Bassmaster Elite Series. Finish the heck of a tournament. I guess you call it that. We'll talk about the Dink Fest, whatever. We're going to get into it tonight, talk about all that, man. I feel like bass fishing is back, in a way. I feel like it's back on a little bit of an upswing now. And I'm excited about that. I'm really looking forward to talking about that, fired up about it. A few other things going on, man. Some interesting dynamics in tournament bass fishing. Some interesting dynamics in the whole world about. Listen, we all know it's been a world of controversy for the last several years. A lot of things going on. Most importantly, in my world, when it comes to the fishing aspect, Lake Fork's in really good shape. The fish are starting to bite really good. We're like full pre-spawn. Fish are about to start spawning on this next moon. I bet we're going to break down what's going on in Lake Fork tonight as well. If that's what you're here for, stay tuned to the end. We're going in detail on what you can expect and what we're going to see at Lake Fork here in the very near future. So, all that being said, I believe in you. And I do. I believe in all of you. And we're going to fade old Big Don Williams out and get right off into this deal. What's going on with you and me? It's a good thing. Don't worry, I don't plan on stopping fishing anytime soon. I will not go to a singing career. All right. So welcome back. What is the Fish Life podcast? Man, we were like way back in the day. We were one of the OGs. I say way back in the day. It's been way back in the day now. I don't know, 17, 18. Somewhere in there, we started doing a podcast, the Fish Life podcast. It started in the sunroom in my house with me and Austin Fowler and Chris Blackman. Chris Blackman used to help me with those back in the day in Austin, and we had like a three-man deal there going, and then we had Zach Watts come on a bit. And well, I was trying to have at least three guys, and we'll get back to that. I'm going to bring some guests in. I wanted the first one back to be just me, but let me kind of feel my way back into it. Going forward, though, we'll have some guests. And, man, one thing about the world of bass fishing, we haven't done these podcasts in a few years. There's some new dudes. Like, there's some new young guns. And I'm going to get some of them on here. I'm going to try to get as many of them on here as I can. I would love to pick their brains and kind of talk to them and kind of get their perspective on some of the things that's going on, because the more and more that I get into live scope fishing, the more and more that I watch these guys, and more I'm paying more attention and more detail now than I ever have of how these guys are fishing. Little subtle things are going to make the difference. We're going to talk some about that tonight. Like, what is going to be the key to being successful in bass fishing going forward? Because I think that's a completely different answer than what it was 5 years ago or 3 years ago. I think just in the last couple of years, there's been some things evolve in the sport that you need to be aware of to have success going forward. So we're going to talk about that tonight. First, I want to talk about the Bassmaster Elite Series. Listen, for better or worse, they're the flagship in our sport, right? Like, you can have your opinions about them. I've had my opinions. I've had my critiques of them. You know, I've had some things I didn't like about Bassmaster in the past. There's going to be some guys on the Bassmaster Elite Series that I probably won't ever mention their name, because I just, you know what Mama say, ain't got nothing nice to say. Like, there's some rotten apples in that bunch. But most of those guys more than half, so I consider that most, good people, man. They're exciting, they're fun to watch, and they're for dang sure really, really, really good fishermen. First of all, congratulations to Fisher and I, rookie. Man, just getting it done right away. That is awesome. So big congratulations to him on winning a grind of a derby today. Well, I mean, just a crazy grind of a derby today. we're already going to comment about if you want to be successful, just throw a fuzzy dice at them. And yeah, I mean, at times, we can talk about the old fuzzy balls. I call them fuzzy balls. Like, why are they called dice? All the ones we're throwing now are round. They're not square. Like, they're not dice. They are round. Like, why are they not balls? Why? I don't get it. So I call them fuzzy balls because I don't get why we call them dice. But anyway, Fisher and I, congratulations. Awesome to win one that early in your career. I don't care how good you are at scope, whatever, you call it cheater box or whatever else. Like, look, bro, Patrick Walter's been on that tour using scope for 6 years now. You beat him, right? Like, there's a lot of other dudes that have been really good at using scope in recent times, and he beat all of them today. So congratulations to him. That's an incredible accomplishment this early in your career. Shout out to Pake South, a Lake Fork local. We're going to talk more about this young man as the year goes on because there's a lot of cool stories about him. He is just a really interesting individual. He's got potential to be a really special deal in bass fishing, like very, very, very special. And I don't want to make this a Pake South podcast right off the bat, but it's coming. Like that podcast is coming. Pake South is such a cool deal. There were people 15 years ago calling Pake South the 2030 Bassmaster Classic champion. I mean, like, he has been known as a thing that was going to happen for a long time now. And it's so cool to watch him fulfill his destiny, what seems to be his, predetermined destiny. That young man is just fulfilling it every step along the way. His first top 10 in his second Elite Series event, didn't have the best day today, but man, a top 10 in your second Elite Series event, that's pretty dang cool. I know the topic everybody wants to talk about, what's better, is live scope bad for tournament fishing? What have we proven in these first two tournaments? Now that we have half the Bassmaster Elite Series with scope, half of it without scope, what do we know now after one of each that we didn't know, or that we just thought and we didn't know for sure? Well, you saw last week, the tournament without scope, Hank Cherry wins. He's an old-time veteran now. Hank Cherry's a pretty modern-thinking guy. He likes to scope and do all that stuff too. But Hank Cherry is a veteran angler. There were a lot of veteran anglers and a lot of what quote-unquote non-scopers that did better in last week's tournament than what they have been doing the last couple of years. I think it's too early to draw a big conclusion off that because, look, you had Trey McKinney in the top 10, and he's a scoper. And I'd have to go back and pull up the list. There were definitely some guys that made the cut and did pretty good that are scopers, like sure enough young gun scopers. There were some guys that did okay in that tournament and had a good tournament without scope, even though they're scopers, right? The one thing I would say that we know for sure is if live scope is allowed, there's a big chunk of the Elite Series that's in trouble. Like there's a veteran core of the Elite Series that cannot keep up and compete with the young guys at live scope. And now that I've gotten more into it myself, my deal traditionally was I couldn't really figure out how to wrap my head around guiding with scope. Like, I would use it as an information gathering tool and something to make us a little more efficient and better. But as far as looking at individual fish on a screen, throwing baits at them specifically, trying to target bites like that, I never could quite get my head around how to do that with customers, for them to catch the fish. So my development and my knowledge of, the intricacies of live scope has been delayed. Well, I'm done delaying it. I actually scheduled time this winter, no guide trips, no filming, no cameras, no videos. It's just me in my boat working that scope. And mine's active target, but y'all know what I mean. When I say scope, that's kind of like when I say I want a Coke in Texas. That might mean a Dr. Pepper, that might mean a Pepsi, and it might mean a Coca-Cola. When I say scope, I mean the forward-facing box. I have Lowrance active target. Some of you guys are going to have that one. Some of you guys have Garmin. Some of you guys have, it's all the same. It's all scope. So, which kudos to Garmin, because just like Coca-Cola, they've been the number one soft drink in the country for years because their brand became synonymous with soft drink. And Garmin will probably continue to be number one in live sonar because their brand is synonymous with forward-facing sonar. So good on them. Good branding deal there. Old guys can't keep up with young guys on scope. If for no other reason, you could have the discussion a bunch of different ways. I'm going to tell you this. That's the most physical way to catch them I've ever experienced. I have more soreness and stiff body issues after a long day of scoping than I do any other way of fishing. You're tense all day. You're on one leg all day. You're kind of hunched over and sometimes bird dog, kind of like posturing up, manipulating your body language to get the cast right and to work the bait right. Like, there is more physicality to scoping than any other style of fishing. That alone will deem that a young man has an advantage. Now, you can always overcome disadvantages, but a 25-year-old, when it comes to doing something physical for 9 hours a day, a 25-year-old has an advantage over a 45-year-old. It doesn't matter what it is, boy. It's like Father Time's undefeated. Yes, Tom Brady overcame Father Time for a little while and was still a very good quarterback. But physically, he wasn't as able to hold up throughout the day the way he was when he was 25, right? He had to compensate for those things with diet and workout regimen and all that stuff, right? And a little bit of brain power when Tom Brady was doing it. So some of these guys are veteran anglers. They're going to do that, right? Like, they're going to be able to compensate and overcome that disadvantage. But when there's a physical nature to it, the young guys do have an advantage, okay? That's just the way of the world, man. Like, and I got to be honest, like, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm okay with it being a little more physically demanding. Like, I think that's a good thing. I think it makes it more of a sport. Okay? I think in some ways, even though, yes, live sonar can make it easier, it does make it easier in a lot of ways. It makes it harder in a lot of ways too. I will tell you this from this is me personally, my experience speaking. I've never found a way that's harder to trigger bites than scoping. Like, it makes you catch more because you're so efficient, because you're always throwing at fish. Every cast. God dang, I'm about to sneeze. My apologies. I know a lot of you guys are going to listen to this in an audio format after the live. I apologize for the sniffling. I'm fighting the allergies the best I can. This is medicated me, okay? Like, this is allergy medicated version of me. It could be worse. So I'm doing the best I can for you guys. But, you know, it's easier to just go down the bank throwing something, or to set up in the middle of a grass flat and follow a creek channel throwing something. To me, that's a lot easier, man. Like, you just got to have the faith in that. And then some days it works out and some days it doesn't. And on the days it doesn't work out, you scratch your head and you kind of regroup and go about it. With scope, you see them. So when you can't get them to bite, like, man, it's in your head and it works on you, dude. Like, it's a whole nother level of seeing things. And I'm going to make a big, long live scope video on, like, all the little details on how to trigger bites and different things that I've learned this winter. That's coming up very soon. But I'm not anti-live scope. Obviously, I'm not anti-live scope. I use it every day now. I don't think that it means that the younger guys aren't as good at fishing as the older guys because we have one tournament with very extreme conditions in that Guntersville tournament, where it looks like maybe the scopers aren't nearly as good when you turn it off. And they probably aren't as good when you turn it off. But it won't take long. Like, they'll figure some of that other stuff out. Like, they'll get it. If they're doing what they do with scope, they'll figure the rest of it out too. Because scoping is, to me, harder. It takes more physicality and a little bit more refined skill and discipline to consistently trigger bites using scope than it does any other way. So, just my opinion. Roast me in the comments over it, whatever it is. Not a lot of guys that are going to make bad comments to me about this. Most of y'all don't have as much time on the water as I do. So just understand when I'm telling you this is coming from a pretty good amount of experience. I mean, I ain't the most experienced guy, but there's a pretty good amount of experience that I'm coming from when I'm telling you these things. So big congrats to Fisher and big congrats to all the guys that did make the top 10 in Pake South, our local men. So happy and proud to see you fulfilling what has always seemed like your destiny, right? Your destiny. Side note, what is the deal with all these young guys? Like, who the hell named these kids? Fisher, Anaya, Laker, Howe coming through the opens. And there's other ones. There's other ones I'm not going to be able to think of. But, like, when did fishermen start having fishing names? Like, these guys' names are, like, fishing-oriented names. Like, it's so funny to me to see some of these dudes' names. It's like, well, gee, I guess that kid never had a choice in what he was going to try to do for a living. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. Let's talk about a little Lake Fork bass fishing and what's going on here, because it's it's good, man. Like it's we've had a warming trend, and so let's get into the details of that. So we've had a warming trend. Let's start there. It didn't warm quite as like extremely fast as I thought it would, and I think that's because the water temps weren't like super cold, super cold. Like they kind of climbed. They were in the lower 40s, and they kind of climbed to the upper 40s before we got this warm trend. And since on this warm trend, a lot of the overnight lows were still lower 50s, upper 40s. Some of them weren't, some of them were higher. That changes how much effect the water has warming. So, you guys have heard me say this before, but if my water temp is 55, and during the day it's 75, well, my water temp's going to climb. But at night it goes to 45. Well, my water temp's going to fall some. And then the next day it'll climb some. And it'll kind of gradually do that and gradually go up, longer that happens. If I have a 55-degree water temp and it's 75 during the day, it's going to climb. And then at night at 60, it's going to either stay flat or maybe climb a little and then climb again. So you can see the difference in this, right, versus see how quick that jumps up? So that makes that shallow water warm so extremely fast that it does certain things to these fish as far as how they position. We really haven't gotten that. I kind of thought we would get that. We didn't really get that. Maybe I just wasn't paying quite close enough attention to some of the temps and the water temps and all that. Now we have gotten to a place where we have slowly crept up over the last week or so where there's some 60-degree water on Lake Fork. And there was, I did not fish over the weekend. But even on like Wednesday and Thursday, there was some 60-degree water on Lake Fork in the right areas. Main Lake was still in the mid-50s. But for the core to have gotten to like the low to mid-50s already when it was not that long ago where it was, like the core is warming up pretty quick for the core. The shallow is just not getting those extreme trends like I anticipated they would. So we've got some fish pulling in, but they're not just going all the way back, right? All the way back. They've been in that. You can catch some fish up shallows. You can. Most of them seem to be littler. Catch some smaller slot fish in there too. The big fish seem to be in like 6 to 10 foot of water. It's kind of 6 to 12, 6 to 10. That's kind of where I'm seeing those bigger fish. And man, there ain't no better way to target those fish than scoping. I mean, those fish are made for scope. Like whether it's those are perfect jerkbait fish. You guys are going to see a video tomorrow of me catch them on a flat side square bill where I'm in 10 foot of water or whatever a lot of times, but you see my square bill, it's running up against trees and I'm only hitting the tree 4 or 5 foot down because that's where the fish is suspending. So that's a technique I've been doing. We'll talk about here in the near future where I'm taking crankbaits, a fish suspending on a tree. I haven't been able to get the fish to follow jerkbait very well. They're not following the fuzzy ball around very well on that day. So I start running a crankbait and just banging that crankbait off the tree close to where they're sitting as I can. And that's getting ready. I'll pause it right by them too. Like I'll run up there, bang the tree, and then pause. And you guys will see that in the video tomorrow. You see me stop. So just doing some little things, manipulating a little flat-sided square bill and getting it near them, bouncing it off the tree, pausing, stop starting, and getting some reaction bites that way on the scope. A lot of different ways you can go about it. Those fuzzy ball baits, they are good. They are good. I've been debating on putting a video out or not because I got some buddies that have been on the fuzzy ball thing for a while, okay? And they don't really want people talking about it, And I'll be honest with you, I didn't come into the fuzzy ball game through them, but these are guys that make their living catching fish and putting other people on fish. And man, I don't want to blow anything up on them. They don't want blown up, but it's coming anyway. Like it's fixing to get blown up anyway. And I do have some little detailed knowledge on them that I want to share with you guys. So maybe I'll have that conversation with some of those guys and we'll get that video out in the next week or two. But the fuzzy ball deal is something that it's a player, man. There's some little things to it you need to know. Otherwise, you're going to sit there and watch that thing float around and watch fish follow it and not bite it and follow it and not bite it. There's a couple little details you need. So, but let's see what we're going to get for the forecast this week on Lake Fork. Let's go ahead and pull that up while we're talking about everything because that's what's been going on. A lot of fish in 6 to 12 foot of water as far as big fish now. Now, if you want to go on the bank, you can go on the bank and throw a quarter ounce trap. A lot of drop shot fish getting caught. A lot of light Texas rig fish getting caught. man, those 1 to 4 pounders, you can catch a lot of those up there. I think pretty much everybody, like Lake Fork's fishing really, really good. Like one of the rare times where Lake Fork's kind of fishing good for the everyday guy that doesn't have a lot of experience there, where they can just kind of follow the water temps, get in the warmer water, and start getting a few bites. That doesn't always happen where, a guy that doesn't have experience on the water can just show up at Fork and start catching fish. Well, right now is one of those times when that's kind of going down. So it's a good time to be here. So tomorrow we got an overnight low tonight of 44, high of 72. And that's what I'm talking about. So water temps are going to drop a little tonight. We only had a high of 62 today. So the water temps are going to drop for sure tonight. 72 for high tomorrow. They'll climb. Low going into Tuesday is 52. That's going to cause maybe a little bit of a decline. High 73 on Tuesday. Water will climb. Here's a couple days that's going to make a difference. Overnight low on Tuesday going into Wednesday is 60. So Tuesday, water temps are going to climb. Tuesday night, they're not dropping. Wednesday, we got 77. They're going to climb again. You're going to get a little bit of that spike in that shallow water by Wednesday. And then Wednesday overnight is 62, and Thursday is 81. So Thursday, by the time Thursday comes around, we're going to have that shallow water spike. And some of those bigger fish, even when you have that, typically will get very, very, very shallow. Like as shallow as they can go. So be watching for that coming up this week. And we'll meet right back here next week and talk about it. We're going to start doing the Sunday night podcast. This is going to be a regular thing, so make sure you guys join in every Sunday night. 8:30 is probably going to be the time that works for me right now with my family schedule and everything else. So that's probably what time we're going to shoot for. So right now, plan on next Sunday, 8:30. Of course, we've got content coming out all week, guys. We got content on Monday that's going to be on the water video. Tuesday, we have our Just the Tip Tuesday, baby, because on Tuesdays, we give you just the tip. Those are little short tip videos we do every Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, we'll have an in-depth instructional as we always do. Thursday, I don't know what Thursday is yet, but there's something. We'll have content, some kind on Thursday. Usually take Friday, Saturday off. Sometimes I'll post a little short video on Friday, and then, of course, on Sundays here. So basically almost every day, but Saturday, you can expect content coming out, whether it's here on YouTube, whether it is on the Facebook page, Instagram, posting it there. TikTok, I post a lot short videos there. You can pretty much get your Lake Fork Guy content every day. We're back, baby. Like we're all the way back now. We are running and gunning and doing it like we used to, and then some, and then some. Fish Lyfe app, man. Let's talk about the Fish Lyfe app. So, Fish Lyfe app, it got behind on updates at times over the last couple years. I know that, and that's just because, man, I've had so much go on off the water. I've had so much go on that, man, I couldn't keep up. I physically couldn't keep up at times. And then when I could keep up, man, it was almost like you had writer's block, dude. Like I ran out of things to teach and say and observe because my heart just wasn't, I couldn't get my heart fired up and into fishing. I'd had so many bad things happen to me off the water. And to be honest, I had so much BS that occurred and I dealt with in the industry, man, it just kind of dampened the flame on me, We're back now, and I'm as excited about bass fishing as I ever have been. Right now, Lake Fork Package has a fresh update from the first of the month. So on the Fish Lyfe app, Lake Fork Package, that's going to be kind of a projection package, right? Like, so at the first of the month, I take what I've been seeing all month long. So what I saw all month in January, in the first week of February, I go on there. I look at what I think is going to happen throughout February, and I put what I think is going to be the 20 best areas on Fork for February in the first week. That's what you get in the Lake Fork Package. We'll do the same thing first week of March. I'm going to look at what happened all of February. First week of March, that'll get updated. What I think is going to happen throughout March, you're going to have all those spots on there in March. So right now, like what's on there that I put at the beginning of February, there's 20 spots a month on there. There's 10 scoping spots. Like here's the timber they're in. Here's the timber I've been seeing them in. Here's some more timber they're going to come to. And then there's 10 early warming areas because I could see the warm trend coming early in the month. If you look on the extended forecast, so I'll put 10 early warming areas on there. And a lot of those are paying off, dude. Like a lot of the stuff that's on there that I put there the first week of February, I'm now fishing it. So it's always been legit information. It's just a matter of how updated it stayed. For years, it was updated all the time. Now it's back. Like it's updated all the time now. You can go trust it. It's going to be some great information. Those of you that have used it in the past and have followed along for years and years and years, because we've been doing this a while now, there is nothing like the Fish Lyfe app. Like, as far as if you want some help to fish Lake Fork, you're coming to Lake Fork, you won't know what to do. There's nothing better than the Fish Life app. None of this using the weather to predict spot. No. This is a dude on the water all the time telling you this is how it's going down. This is where it's going down. These are the baits they're biting. There ain't nothing else like that out there when you have that guy on the water giving you that info. Now, the Pro Tips package. The Pro Tips package is that on steroids, right? So the Pro Tips package, it involves it's just what I fish. It's what I fish, and it's always updated. So every little weather change, every little warming trend that we have, when something new pops up, like when I go fish somewhere different on the lake Wednesday and Thursday because of that spike in water temp, it's going to be on the Pro Tips package, YLFG Pro Tips. It's going to be on there by this weekend. So if you want the most detailed, the most updated, like the week-to-week changes that happen on the water that can make all the difference in the world, that's going to be YLFG Pro Tips, okay? There's not a whole lot of spots on there because here just a couple weeks ago, I deleted everything on there and started over fresh. I didn't want any old information on there, started over. Got a comment here, Jason Strange. He said he's fishing the next 4 days on Fork, weather's going to be great. And then his next comment, he said he has the Lake Fork package and it's legit. There you go. There's some testimony. It is, man. We've had so many people over the years catch new personal best. We've had hundreds maybe now, probably. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. Like probably hundreds of people reporting catching double digits from using the Fish Life app. We've had people message us saying, man, I had the best fishing day of my life using this app. What tournaments have been won using this app? When the Elite Series has been here, okay, they used to allow those guys to use the app because it was public. Anybody could buy it. Now I think they don't allow them to use the app because it's considered bartering for information because you have to pay for it, even though everybody can pay for it. I don't know. I have to check with somebody this year and find out what their official ruling on that is. So what I will say is every time there's been an Elite Series event or a Bass Pro Tour event on Lake Fork, every single time, the winning fish were caught on a Fish Life spot. Every time. If that doesn't say it, I don't know what else does. Like, here's 100 of the best anglers or 80 of the best anglers, whatever it is. The one who gets the best results out of all of them is on a Fish Life spot every single time. That's pretty damning evidence, as they say right there. Like, you can't argue that. So we're real proud of it. I'm really proud of the product we built there. I think it's as far as fishing apps go, it's the realest thing you can get in the industry. It really is. And we've got an advancement in app technology that we are working on to help you guys even more. That's all I'm going to say for now. And it's going to be a while. It may never come to fruition. But I'm always trying, like when my gears are turning and I'm locked in on this deal like I am right now, my gears are always turning to try and find ways to help the public catch more and bigger fish. Technology keeps getting better. We're going to keep trying to find better ways to help you guys. Tim Bolton says, Matt Steffen posted today, big worms are a new trend you'll be hearing about this year. New trend, ha ha ha. Had to mention Big Perm. Is a staple at Lake Fork. Oh, Big Perm. Got one right here. There he is. A little dusty, been sitting on the couch for a long time. Big Perm. Big Perm to Big Worm. Getting it done. What up, Big Worm? I mean, Big Perm. I mean, Big Worm. Look. Y'all don't know. Look. Hold on. See if I can show you this. I don't know if you can see it. Where is it? It's under. Oh, it's over here more. Look at there. Y'all see that? Right? That's big. Hey, that's a Big Perm license plate that one of my customers got me. Yeah, Big Perm's a fixture for sure. Now, big worms are our deal. Okay, let's talk about that because that's a good segue into what I want to talk about next. Things that are important going forward in bass fishing. Whether you use live scope or not, scope is affecting your fishing. Okay? Let me explain what I mean. In more ways than we can even really know. You know, I don't pretend to know all the different ways it's affecting them. Raise your hand if the last couple of years you had a hard time finding fish grouped up in the summer on areas they typically group up on for you on that lake. It's definitely happening on Fork. I mean, in a big way. The schools don't really pile up the last couple of years the way they always have. Okay. I'm sure it's not just Lake Fork. Now, if you got some out of the way lake that nobody really fishes, nothing's probably being affected. But if you fish on a public pressured fishery that has a decent amount of pressure, scope is affecting your fish and their travel habits and their behavior. What I personally have come to believe is happening on that. Fish spawn in the springtime, we all know that. They recover for a little while and they start making some of those fish stay residential shallow, but some of them make their way out to the main lake and gather up on offshore structure, traditionally. I think nowadays, those fish are never getting out there and grouping up. They are getting disrupted and pursued before they ever gather in their schools. So like what would happen typically back in the day, those fish would be up shallow, they get beat on, they'd recover for a little bit, there's still guys beating on them, and then they get out in no man's land and nobody touched them for a while. And then they get out there and kind of get comfortable, get to feeling good. And on, these fertile lakes in the south, hell, they can eat anywhere. There's bait all over the place. So they get out there, get recovered, get to feeling good, and they start easing out to these offshore spots. And they kind of slowly start to, you'd see, back in the day, late April, early May, you'd see a few out there. Mid-May, late May, you'd see a bigger school. By the early June, you'd see, by July, the schools were massive, right? And then it depended on how public that on a lake like Fork, back then it depended on how public of a community hole it was. Like if it was a typical community hole, right? Like if it's one of the points, main point out the mouth of Little Caney, well, those fish, you'd see them gather and build a little bit. And then a lot of people start fishing them, they break up. Now you'd only see a few at a time there, right? Those schools would get broken up. I don't think they're ever gathering anymore. I think as they're meandering around trying to recover where they would eventually make their way to the ledge or the hump or the point or whatever, I think their pattern's getting disrupted already, their path, what they normally do. And so now they just are in a constant state of staying off. Pressure affects fish. We know that. I think that's how you end up with so many fish out in no man's land suspending on timber. Which is fine. Like we can catch them. Now it's fine if they do that. Like if all the fish in the lake want to do that, that's fine. We can go catch them doing that now, right? Like before it was really hard to catch those fish. Now you can go target them. So I think, scope is affecting everything in a lot of ways. Since so many guys are so much more efficient and every cast they make is at a fish for the most part. Like every once in a while you cast at the wrong species or whatever. The majority of the cast guys are making, even your everyday weekend angler that has scope, that gets somewhat decent with it, just about every cast he makes is at a fish. So these fish are seeing more baits in their face than ever before. I think the future, if you were to ask me what's going to be the most important factor over the next 5 years in bass fishing, it's actually going to be baits. Like, I'm traditionally a guy that's like, I have a limited number of baits in my boat and a limited number of colors and all that kind of, like, I don't, it's like, whatever, dude. When I find them feeding, I'm going to catch them. Like, whether it's a green pumpkin chatterbait or a white chatterbait, I'll catch them if they're feeding. Or, whether it's a shad-colored trap or a chartreuse trap, it doesn't really matter. Or chartreuse crankbait, it doesn't matter. Some of those little details just weren't that important to me. It was just more about finding the right fish, and you could catch them kind of a multitude of ways. I think that's going to go by the wayside. And I think the different baits that you fish and subtle little differences in presentations and techniques, which, if we're going to be honest, like that's kind of the art of bass fishing, is finding these out of the way top secret bait deals and finding a little tweak, a little technique, a little change in how you twitch it or how you retrieve it or stop it or, put a little color here. I think those little things are going to become exponentially more important over the next 5 years. I think that's going to be the biggest deal. I think that's why this fuzzy ball deal is, blowing up so big. Because when you find the right thing that triggers bites, now we can repeat it. Like that's what scope does, makes it so efficient. So like, if you could sit there and throw jerk baits at them all day and you can only get 5 to bite, but if you throw a fuzzy ball at them, you can get 15 to bite. And I'm not saying that's the deal, because the video that's coming out tomorrow of me fishing last week, on that particular day, they would not bite a fuzzy ball. But they would bite a flat side crankbait if I banged it off the timber they were suspended on. I think it's little things like that. Like that deal that I'm doing with the flat side square bill. I'm getting it to the depth they're at. I'm banging it off that tree, pausing it, twitching it, stopping it, doing little things to make them bite. The art of bass fishing and little bait differences and little technique differences. That's going to be the biggest deal to me over the next 5 years. And it already kind of is, right? Like we see it even on the Elite Series stuff. Like right, wrong, or indifferent, love them or hate them, the Elite Series is the barometer for all of us. Like it is, the temperature of the bass fishing world is taken on the Elite Series. We learn from them. We see new techniques from them that, I mean, the ball thing started there. Like we wouldn't, it was a Japan thing and we wouldn't know about it if it wasn't for a couple of Japanese anglers that brought that to here. Yeah, baits, we've already seen how the baits are really like the minnow deal, man. Like the minnow and the right minnow and the right head to make it roll and, shimmy right. And, all those little fine details that make the Elite Series Pro special, it's going to be important for all of us. It's going to get more and more important for all of us. And now is a better time than ever to think outside the box because you may try 100 different things that don't work. And one day you may find one little thing. And that one little thing, as long as you keep it to yourself, may produce for you for a long, long time. If you find something different that nobody else is doing, it can just be so different. It's kind of funny, like the rest of the bass fishing world is now starting to have to think, we've always had some of this at Fork where the fish are so pressured that I talk about this a lot, but Lake Fork bassmen, you can miss by an inch, miss by a mile. You have the wrong bait. You could be doing everything else right. You have one thing wrong about the bait you're fishing and you don't hardly get a bite. But if you do have the right bait, you catch 30 pounds. Like doing the exact same thing in the exact same area. Like it can be that big of a difference on Lake Fork. And now it's kind of like happening all over the place. So we are better as bass fishermen as a whole. That's the other takeaway from this is this was true before forward-facing sonar. Just with the details of the mapping now, so all the juice holes, all the sweet spots offshore, for the most part, they all get seen by everybody from the details of mapping. Side scan, it's hard to hide a brush pile with side scan in 360. Like, you can't really hide a brush pile. I don't care where you put it. Somebody will find it. And now with forward-facing sonar, even to another level, like, man, we are better as bass fishermen. And I hear some old guys around Lake Fork every once in a while say, people gripe about the pressure it has now. Y'all should have seen it in the 90s. Well, in the 90s, 90% of the dudes were throwing a worm at every tree they saw. It wasn't quality pressure. Now, 90% of the dudes are looking at a fish every time they make a cast, and they're finding all the offshore juice on their map, and they're going there and then seeing exactly where the fish are and casting right at them. That is way more of an effect on fishing than throwing a worm at random trees, which is what the majority of people that fished Fork in the early 90s, let's face it, they threw a worm at a tree and didn't really care which tree it was and just figured there's so many fish in Lake Fork it'll produce anyway. And it did for a lot of guys. Can't do that anymore. Just go ahead. Go pick up a worm and throw it at random trees on Lake Fork. See how it goes. See how it works out for you. It ain't going to go too well. I go ahead and assure you that right now. So, all right, that's that on that topic. The quality of pressure is like so good. It has been for a while. And like that's what I tell people about Fork too is like it's not that it gets so much pressure because it does get so much pressure, right? Like you can go through all the different factors. Lake Fork's the closest destination lake. Like when I say destination lake in America, let's talk about them like Clear Lake, destination lake. Okeechobee, destination lake. Maybe not as much anymore, but yeah, it still is. Gunnersville, destination lake. Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend are destination lakes. Those type of lakes. Lake Fork is a destination lake. Out of all those, there's two things that are important to remember about Fork. It's the closest to a major city. So we have millions of people living in DFW that are within an hour of Lake Fork or right about an hour of Lake Fork. A lot of those are bass fishermen because bass fishing culture in DFW is huge. Also, it's the smallest of all the destination lakes by like a lot, less than half the size of the next smallest. So all the other destination lakes are so much bigger than Lake Fork. So the pressure per acre is probably already the highest of any of the destination lakes. And it's not even that's the problem. The problem is the quality of pressure. Now, For a long time before scope, the quality of pressure on fork was different. Nowhere else on earth do you have 100 bass fishing guides. There's one place. It's Lake Fork, right? Like Lake Fork at times has 100 different bass fishing guides. It always has 50. That doesn't exist anywhere else. And then for it to exist on a lake that's 27,000 acres, it's not the amount of pressure fork gets. It's the quality of pressure. The quality of pressure. And like Guntersville gets a lot of high quality pressure too. I'm not saying it doesn't. Like Guntersville's probably number 2 in that category. Like maybe they might be number 1 in the quality. Like Guntersville gets a lot of high quality pressure, but it's so much bigger than Lake Fork. So much bigger. Definitely the quality pressure per acre is through the roof on Fork compared to everywhere else. Lightning Muskie brings up a good point here. He said something that people don't think about is if you catch 3 times the fish you did before that, I don't think people are catching 3 times the amount of fish they did. I don't think that's accurate because I think the pressure makes them harder to catch. But if you do catch 3 times the amount of fish you did before that, that also means you have 3 times the amount of delayed mortality. And that's a legit concern. I mean, if people are better as a whole as fishermen, we're catching a higher percentage of the bass, yeah, you're going to have more delayed mortality. But I don't think delayed mortality is a very real issue on recreational catch and release. Like if you're just catching a bass, taking a picture and letting him go, I mean, there's not very much delayed mortality on that. Like it's a low number. Now tournaments, delayed mortality goes up. The stress of being on live well all day does have an effect. You do have some delayed mortality from tournament fishing. Yeah, we can't avoid that. Here's what I will say. After scoping around Lake Fork and some other lakes, we ain't got no population issue. Like, whoever thought the fish weren't in Lake Fork like they always have been, you ain't scoped enough because we do not have a population issue. There is, once you find out, now there's days when it feels like you do because you're not on the right stuff, right? Like you're in the wrong areas of the lake, the wrong depth, whatever it may be. But once you, like this last week, if I was looking in 10, 12 foot of water, 8 foot of water, man, I saw a lot of damn fish everywhere I went. Like I went to that 6 to 12 foot of water in the mouths of areas where I know fish like to spawn. And wherever fish like to spawn, I got out in front of that in 6 to 12 foot of water. And I saw fish everywhere I went. I mean, everywhere I went. So no population issue in my opinion. What about Ray Hubbard? What about Ray Hubbard and Tawakoni this time of year? Man, very limited experience. I've never been on Tawakoni. I know a little bit about it, but I've never been on it. And in Ray Hubbard, I've been on it just a few times. Both lakes are a little bit flat. Tawakoni's really flat. So, I mean, shallow. I mean, for Tawakoni, shallow. Like, I don't know if there's any like good grass on Tawakoni. If there is, I would think that would be a gold mine. But just in general, very shallow fishing right now on Tawakoni is going to be the deal, I would think. So find the warming water, find where it's warming the most, and get very shallow in the backs. You're going to find some fish. That would be where I would start for sure, and then I'd probably pull out a little bit. Once I started finding some fish in areas, I'd probably pull out a little bit and try to scope and see if I can find some bigger ones. Hubbard's a weird lake because it has the river, and if you know how to get to the river and the lake's full enough, which I don't know if the lake's even full enough to get to the river, if you know how to get to the river on Hubbard and the lake's full enough, that's where you want to be this time of year. There's no doubt about it. And you go up there and it's just old school backwater river fishing, and flipping and cranking and just good old spinnerbait in the bushes and, that good old fun stuff. Most of the main body of Hubbard is not as flat as Tawakoni, but it's kind of flat. I know in the summer it's like wherever the deep rock riprap is and then brush piles. That's kind of the deal then. But like right now, it would be tough on Hubbard to kind of pinpoint where to start because most of the lake just has like a little creek arm here, a little cove. They're not even real creek arms. There's like little coves. There is big creek arms, but those usually don't fish very good on Hubbard for whatever reason. So just the little corners and coves that are warming up, I would probably try those. And then, of course, I'm still going to try to scope around riprap. And if I can, I'm going to be jerk baiting and cranking. So that's just my initial thoughts on what I would do right there. A few years ago, we were discussing hydrilla and the future of fork waters. Is this a factor anymore? Is there any viable places to find it? Also, what about lily pads? Well, there's plenty of it last year. We dropped quite a bit this year. Just, I think this is the biggest drop we've had in water level from natural causes. And pumping is a factor, but I consider that kind of in the natural, because it's in the normal routine. Like, really, we got 6 foot low or 7 foot low, 6 or 7. Of course, it's 6 or 7. We got like 6 to 7 foot low when they were doing some work on the dam a few years back. Other than that, it's been since that 2011 to 2014 time that we've been, as low as we are now, from just natural causes. Because, we're over 3 foot low. Lake Fork doesn't spend much time over 3 foot low unless, when the dam work, they pulled it down that low, and then 11 to 14. So since I moved here in 2009, that's the only 2 times it's been this low, has been the drought from 11 to 14, where everybody was hitting record lows in their lakes, and then the dam work a few years ago. So we had grass last year, and then we got low, and the grass wasn't really growing that deep, right? Like, it was growing out to like 5, 6 foot in most places, something like that, 4 or 5 foot, something like that. And then we got 3+ foot low, and we had some really cold weather. Well, cold weather, knocks the top off the grass, and the grass that's in like a foot, it'll kill it a lot of times, and it did kill some of it. And so we've lost a lot of grass since last year because of the water dropping, and we had that one stretch that was, several days without getting above freezing. That will kill some grass. So the grass we have right now, it's very shallow. It's in a lot of areas, but none of it's like big areas of grass and good, 4 or 5 foot of depth. There is no, I haven't seen any grass in 4 or 5 foot of water on Fork lately. So there's just, when the lake comes back up, that grass grows back up, yes, it'll be very much a significant part of Lake Fork and how you go out fishing it at times. Right now, it's good to have it in some of the dirt shallow water, and you can kind of catch a few fish out of it, and you probably will throughout the spring catch some fish out of it, but it's not just like a huge overwhelming factor. Lily pads, now we had a bunch of lily pads. They'll come back. Those areas are full of stems still. Those lily pads do. They lose the tops in the winter. They'll come back. By summer, you'll have quite, several areas that have good stands of lily pads scattered all over the lake, just different patches of them. So. All right, good questions tonight, guys. Good questions. I always appreciate that. Helps me extend the podcast when you guys are asking those good questions like that, for sure. For sure. Like I said, I've alluded to this a few times. I've got a live scope video coming up. I haven't even made it yet. I want to make sure that when I make this video that I get it right. I guess that's the best way to say it. But, man, there's a lot of little subtle things that are very, very, very important when you're live scoping. And they're the difference between seeing fish and having fish follow a bait and actually getting fish to commit and bite. They're just not being talked about. The deal is, the scope deal is still pretty new to even the professional tour ranks. And there's some guys that got some things figured out that they are not turning loose of. And they're not turning loose of it to me either. I'm just starting to see a few things as I keep working with it over time. I'm like, nobody ever talks about that. Nobody really mentions that. We're going to do a video on that. And I think it's going to be one of the best instructional videos we've ever done. Because, a lot of us are scoping now, right? Or a lot of us are trying to. A lot of us have scope. And I think there's a lot of guys that have scope and just haven't really got it figured out yet, because it takes a lot of time to get good at it, man. You have to spend time behind the wheel of that car driving it to understand it. And we're going to try and shorten the learning curve and help some of you guys. And I think this will be one of the most effective videos we've ever made at actually helping get fish in the boat. So it's coming. Well, I don't want to give away too much of what we're going to do in that video, Weston. But Weston says he would love to see how you separate species on AT2, which is Active Target 2. That's what I run. I run Lawrence Active Target 2. Man, there's some little things. The more you got to look at the screen a lot, and this is definitely going to be a segment in that video, so I don't want to get too in depth. But the more you look at that screen, you will pick up subtle cues, and I'll explain what some of those are in that video. kind of just the way they swim, the speed at which they swim and move. And one of the biggest factors is, do they pay attention to your bait? Like, sometimes, here's the deal. We can talk about all the different things that you look at before you throw at a fish to determine, should I throw at that fish or not? There's a lot of different things, whether they're a bass or they aren't a bass. And there's things that you can look at to determine if it's a bass or not before you throw at it. But at the end of the day, every single person that uses live sonar, including the best on tour, every day they use it, they're going to make quite a few casts at fish that aren't bass. And the way they're going to determine it's not a bass is by how indifferent that fish is to the bait. If a lot of the fish are if you've got a bait going and you've got a bite figured out, and a lot of the fish are at least, following your bait and paying attention to it, and then you see one swimming in open water, just kind of meandering around, and you don't know, and you throw over there and he don't pay any attention to it at all, it's not a bass. Or if it is a bass, it's a bass that damn sure ain't going to bite, so it might as well not be a bass. So you just, a lot of it is just throw at that fish if he reacts to your bait. Now play it now let's go. If he doesn't, keep moving, It's that simple. So how shallow do you think AT2 is viable, Lowrance AT2 is viable? In the vertical mode, as far as throwing at fish and watching my bait and working them, if I get less than 5 feet, it starts getting a little sketchy. Now, I can still see fish in less than 5 feet and throw a bait over there in that area, but to see a fish, to see my bait, and to work that fish on the screen where I'm watching his reaction to my bait and trying to make him bite, like true scoping, when I get in less than 5 foot, it gets a little sketchy. But 5, 6 foot, no problem. Yeah, we're definitely doing it there. Yeah. Thoughts on tying direct braid for both moving baits and plastics? It's fine if you're fishing a lot of heavy vegetation. On fork, we don't do it much because the wood, like braid, is an issue around wood. It cuts grooves, gets you hung up more often. And it makes noise on that wood when it's dragging through it. So I don't like to fish a lot of braid. The only time I'm fishing braid is topwaters or if I'm fishing in heavy vegetation. I'll tell you one thing else. I still don't have a spinning rod in my boat. I've been pinging a minnow on a bait caster, and I will be showing you guys how to do that too. So I can't cast accurate with a spinning rod at all. And I know I should have just bitten the bullet and taken the time to learn, because there is some value to the spinning rod deal in the scoping game. But man, I have bait casters, setups that I can throw as light a bait as I want on and be fine. So, yeah, I'm still doing all the stuff I'm doing on forward-facing sonar that you see all these pros using, all these spinning rods. I'm still using bait casters. And I'm much more accurate at casting it, much better distance control and line control. And I got a lot more control of that fish when I hook them on a bait caster, obviously. Separate dedicated battery for live scope. Yeah, that's another thing we're going to get into. That's one of the most important things, having separate power to your live sonar. Very important. Very important that your screen's getting power. Your image will suffer. So there you go. All right, guys, I think that's going to kind of wrap us up. Man, hey, I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Good first podcast back. I don't know what number this is, 100 and whatever Fish Life podcast, but we appreciate you guys very much. I'll try to have some guests on next week going forward. And, man, we're going to do this every Sunday night. Right now, they're playing a Sunday night at 8:30. I will update you if anything changes on that. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Cheers, y'all. Get that brown in your cup. Hold it up. Drink it down. I have got to go inside. Well, I got to put some things up in this boat. And then I've got to go inside and go to sleep because I didn't fish over the weekend, which is normal for me. And starting tomorrow, we back at them. And we mad at them. Like, we mad at them now. And you'll see that in tomorrow night's video. You'll see me get mad at some fish. If you want to see me kind of like blow up and freak out a little bit about fishing, that happens in tomorrow night's video. So be sure to watch that one. It should entertain you, if nothing else. And yeah, I'm angry at them. And so whoever I got tomorrow, I can't remember the name. Let's see who we got going tomorrow. Let's see. I got him 2 days in a row. Scott, hey, let's get them, dog. Like, we mad at them tomorrow. We mad at all of them. We fixing to go catch them all. Big to small, we catch them all. And you can't catch them every cast if you don't catch them on the first one. So we'll see you guys next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.